afternoon all, on this wonderful cloudy and rainy day. I thought I'd bring Leffy in for the start of this one because it's been a while since you've all seen his ugly mug. Yeah, he doesn't like cameras and he always senses when there's a camera in the area, so very unlikely he's going to look at it. Recently I'm just getting over a bit of a man flu situation, so so it's been a bit of a tough couple of weeks for me, and this little legend has done his usual and kept me going, along with obviously my rock, who is my wife, and this wee man is my pebble, as I've explained in other videos. So purpose of today's video is going to be to discuss 2FA, MFA and all the other varied names under the sun that it's called. The main point of it will be to explain what it is, then I'll explain why you need it, and then what we'll do is a bit of a live demo session at the end where I'll go through each of the popular platforms and explain how it fits into each of them. But I think the main thing that you'll want to take away is it is simple. After I've completed putting all this together, I'll put timings in the bottom in the description to say at what point each of the platforms are, so that if you don't want to watch the whole video, you can go straight to the social media platform of choice and see how to switch it on and make it work for you. But I'm going to let this little man run off before we jump into the main part of it. So say goodbye, Leffy. Say goodbye. What's this? Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Now, little man is off keeping his mother company, or annoying her, whichever you want to believe of him, because he is a little angel sometimes. What we will do now is, you should be able to see the PowerPoint I've put together, because everybody loves a good PowerPoint. So this is what we're going to talk about, as I just sort of went over. What is it, why do you need it, and how do we set it up for each of your social media platforms. So what is 2FA and MFA? So 2FA, MFA, two-step authentication. I'm sure you've heard one or many of these used across each of the different platforms, websites, games consoles. You know, every manufacturer seems to want to call it something different, but the main thing to remember is it's basically all the same thing. So in security, there's three factors of authentication as we know them, and that's something you know, which is normally a password, something that you have, which would be like a smart card, or something that you are, so it's a fingerprint, or other sort of biometric method, eyeball impressions and all sorts of stuff they can do these days. Something you have, it could also be a mobile phone or an app. In the diagram at the bottom, that sort of explains it a little bit better for you. So why do you need it? And the main thing is that cybercrime, they're an industry of their own these days. They've become so successful at doing what they do that they have customer services departments and public relation departments, and they're putting out all sorts of press releases and trying to garner business for themselves, because they sell these things as a service now. Ransomware as a service is a big thing at the minute, and if you're one of the latter day script kiddies that used to be, then it's very easy to go out there and buy something off the shelf effectively and use that to go and target victims to try and make money. One of the easiest ways that these people operate these days is passwords. The amount of times that we've responded to incidents that involve breaches and the account has been named admin, and the password is just a simple password that people think are complicated, but you put them in a password cracker and in milliseconds it's broken that password. So we look for a way to to give defense in depth, is what we call it. So it's like layers of security, and one of those ways is multi-factor authentication, because it means that the attacker has to have not only the password, but he also has to have, say, one of these other forms of access, so a smart card or an app or your fingerprint. So the likelihood of them having that is obviously going to be a lot lower, and in normal circumstances. And then once once someone's into your accounts, and they lock you out, if you try and get into your account, you can't get in, and go to change the password, and the email never arrives because it's not going to your email anymore. It causes a lot of annoyance, and in some cases suffering, because they start posting on your social media account, or saying things that you would never say, and getting you into trouble. So it's just not worth it for the sake of, as you'll see at the end, simply just going into settings and flicking a switch is sometimes all it takes to turn this on. And that's sort of my message, is that it is easy, it's simple, you turn it on and you protect yourself a lot better than just having a rubbish password set up. So that sort of explains the what is it and why do I need it. Next we're going to go on to how to set it up for, and I'm going to cover these platforms here: Gmail or Google, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. These relate to not just protecting your children's accounts, but also, as LinkedIn that shows there, your own accounts and your own sort of Gmail, for example, where probably all of your personal data goes through at some point in an email. So just the ability to protect these is paramount, not just for kids but for adults alike. And as the picture shows there, let's pray to the demo gods that it all goes well, because everyone knows that a live demo will very easily go wrong. So first thing I'm going to do is go on to Google, and I'll switch to the browser screen so we can see how I go about doing that and just how simple it is. Okay, so this is the profile area of your Google account. If you log into your Google account, you'll see that you under settings you'll have this area where you can go in and change like your personal information, add your phone number, that sort of thing. But the one we're interested in is obviously the security tab. You can see that there's no security issues found across my account, which is thumbs up good. It'll also show you some of the recent activity. I've deleted my recovery phone because I realise I don't want to post my phone number to YouTube. So you can also see that I tested the verification earlier, so it's currently turned off. But yeah, the area that we're interested for the purposes of this is signing into Google. So there's a few options available to you. If you want to use your phone, I use this on my main account. If instead of typing in every time your password, you can set it up so that you can unlock via your phone. You'll get a little pop-up and it'll say, is this you? You click yes and it'll log you in on that device. That's just one way of doing this. I won't go ahead with setting that up. And then two-step verification, as we mentioned before, there's lots of different names for it. Two-step verification is multi-factor authentication though, because we're going to use that second form of authentication. So as you can see here, as I mentioned before, adds an extra layer of security, and also it helps to keep the bad guys out. So if we get started, you can use your phone as your second step, as we mentioned before. It should be in that list. If not, just click on the don't see a device. But basically you just have to log in on your phone to your Gmail, and it should then log that into your account. So you can put in here for another option. So if you were to lose your phone, not lose your phone, but yeah, if you were to lose your phone, you could put in another phone number here, and it'll give you a text message or a phone call, or you can use another backup method, which is to basically have one-off passcodes. So the idea behind that would be either you print those off, or you can download them and then upload them to something like your G drive or I mean, I wouldn't put it on your G drive because you're probably locked out at this point. But like a Dropbox or somewhere else like that, where you can then access them and use them if you lose access to your first method. And once we've done that, yeah, I've got my codes. So turning it on, your second step is your Google prompt, and then your backup option is your backup codes. And that is basically turning on two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication for your account. That means that your account is now protected with a password, but also an app or your phone, whether it be a text message or one of the one-off backup codes. And it is as simple as that for Google. Now that account is protected with two-factor authentication. So that was Google. We're gonna move on to, I believe the next one's going to be Instagram. So I will move across to that now. So Instagram, this is the page on the Instagram website which explains how to turn it on. You can't actually turn it on via your web logon for Instagram. It all has to be done via your mobile phone, which for the purposes of a live demo would normally be difficult, but I of course have a solution. So I've got here an emulator which I'm using, which I've installed Instagram onto, and what we'll do is go to the Instagram tab, and here we have my Instagram page, but the area of interest is down here at the bottom. If you click on your picture, I'm sure yours looks a lot better than mine. And then we'll go into this, what we call the hamburger icon in the top right, so the three lines that go across. And we will then go down here to the cog, which is settings. And the area that we want is obviously security. So we're going to jump into the security tab here. We're going to go to our wonderful friend, two-factor authentication. So again, you can see it's named something different, but hopefully you're getting to learn all of these different terminologies are basically just the same thing. So we're going to go to get started at the bottom, and you have again more options available to you here. You can just put in your telephone number, and you'll get a text message each time, which then you have to take that code and put it in to log in. That's a bit of an extra step that I don't think you really want to be doing. So what you can do is have an authentication app. Now at the end I'll go through a couple of the normal options for authenticator apps. There's the Google one, and Microsoft have one as well. There's plenty of them out there, but they're the two main ones that a lot of people use. So for the purposes of just a bit of speed here, I'm going to say text message. What it'll do is it's got my phone number in the settings already, so that is my phone number is the one that ends with those numbers. It will send you a code, you put it in there, you click next, and in fact, let's do that, shall we? So I have my code now on my phone, and if we put that in there, and I'm not too worried that you're seeing my code, because once it's used, it's binned, and that's it. It was as simple as that. Now that that's been done, you've got the recovery codes, which are effectively the same as the Gmail ones that we mentioned before. Just keep those nice and safe, because they could be your last possibility to get into your account. So next time you come to now log into that account, or if you log in from a different device or location, it will ask you to put your password in as normal, and then once you've put your password in and it's accepted, you'll get a text message, or the app will pop up. If you've used the app will pop up with is this you, yes or no. So that's that account, and how to effectively protect yourself with Instagram. Sorry if my voice is a bit croaky today, because I'm still getting over that level 2 man flu that I had. We will now go on to next platform of choice, which is Facebook. Let's go to Facebook and go through the really difficult process. So Facebook, you'll see here that I've got a page up which is basically on Facebook's help center, and it will go through what I've basically already mentioned is what two-factor authentication is and how it works in particular for Facebook themselves. So you'll see it says to go to security and login settings. So if we go over to mine on my account, you should be able to see the settings area. So again, like before, there's different options available to you here, and on one of the handouts that will go with the future video I'll do on each of the platforms and how to set up the settings, I'll go through some of those other areas with you and how to set it up so that it's as secure as possible for your kids and also for yourselves, because you know there's nothing wrong with securing your own accounts as well, but the area we want is security and logging. So you can see that I get some detail in there. There's a lot of login that occurs about where you log in from, and you can start to get alerts on that if there's unrecognized areas that people attempt to log in from. Quite handy. You can change your password in there, but yeah, we obviously want to look at this area here, two-factor authentication. So it's very similar in that if you try to log in from a different device or different computer, it will pop up and ask you for a code. If we go in here and edit though, you'll see that there's two of the very same options which were available on Instagram. So you've got that text message one there, which will just bring you through the same process before of sending you a code to your phone, which you'll then input into the pop-up that appears when you try and log in. Or you can use the authentication app. Not surprisingly, they will use either Google or there's one called Duo Mobile, and it's very similar in that it will give you a code, but with the apps it's slightly easier because you can just normally click, you know, yes or no. So is this you? Yes, and then it will automatically log you in on the app or the website. The process is really simple. Do that, and it's like 2 clicks and it's turned on, and you've got that security in place. I think, yeah, you can look here to see what devices have been logged on, and you can use special passwords to log into apps instead of your Facebook password. So it just means that, you know, you can use a different one if say you do a lot of logging in public areas or something, so you know, to prevent people from, you know, shoulder surfing and finding out your password. But for Facebook, that's the area that you're interested in, and it's nice and simple. Same as the rest of them, I think, is the theme that hopefully you're starting to pick up on. Now we're going to pop over to Twitter and have a look at Twitter's options. Okay, so Twitter, how to use two-factor authentication. So at least we're getting a bit of the same language across the last 2 or 3. Extra layer of security, as we've already mentioned. So it's that password and then the code or security key, which will come from the app or a text message. So it shows that your adversary, the person who's trying to get into your account, needs more than just that password that they might already have. So, you know, they may have sent a phishing email that you've clicked on a link, or you know, or they've just basically cracked a really simple password, but they need more than that now, so they can't automatically get into your account. That's the whole message around this, is that, you know, they can have one piece of that puzzle, but if they haven't got the other piece, they're still not getting in. So it's similar in that you want to go onto your account settings, and you can click the link on their help pages there, which will bring you to this page here. So there's lots of other areas that we can go into in future videos, but you want security and account access, and you want to manage your account security, and in here you've got this area on two-factor authentication. So if we click on two-factor authentication, and you'll see here that we've got something similar to what we've seen across the other 3 we've already done. Text message, stick your mobile phone number in there, and each time you log into Twitter, you'll get that text message, put the code in, and away you go. Authentication app is, for me, is always the one that I would say go to, because you can have several across different platforms that you can have on one app, and it's a nice simple process. So I would say use the Authentication app. So you need to associate your email address, which I haven't done previously on this account. I've got it on my main account, which would mean just clicking on a link in an email that they send you. And security key is a security key that inserts into your computer or syncs to your mobile device when you log into Twitter. But you need to have a supported mobile device or web browser for that. You can learn more on that by clicking on the link there. I would say advised Authentication app, though, as I've mentioned, and from that it is very simple. The next click of the button, you're there, and that Twitter account is protected by multi-factor authentication. So talking of authentication apps, I will briefly go on to the two that I would use. I mean, Google is effectively my go-to one because it covers them all. So I will cover that and the Microsoft one at the end. But one more social media platform that I'm going to cover is for the adults in the group, which is the LinkedIn one. And it's probably one of the more important ones to protect with multi-factor, just because it's your network, your professional network, and your professional connections, and really it's your CV on the internet, isn't it? So the last thing you want is someone going in there and messing around with that and making you look very bad to your professional network. So LinkedIn will be the next and currently last one for this video before we talk about the authentication apps. Okay, so LinkedIn, you should see on my screen here we have another helpful help center. Should be your first port of call for anything like this, as the help centers on any of those platforms, because there's so much information in there that's really useful. So this one is two-step verification, we're calling it in LinkedIn world, and effectively it's pointing you towards your settings in your LinkedIn account. So if we just bring that page up, you'll see that if you click on your photo and then into settings and privacy, and then account access is the one we want. So you can add your email addresses, phone numbers, change your password. July 24th, 2015. Now that is a long time ago, I grant you, but the reason that the dates on my accounts are a bit longer is because, as I've mentioned previously, I have LastPass, which is a password manager, and it's a password manager that has two-factor authentication of its own, because I have a USB key or YubiKey, which I have to insert into the laptop, or I have apps which are authorized. So the need to change your password becomes less, and that's why, if you don't have those available to you, or you don't use multi-factor, that's the reason why you change your password so often, is because it means that, you know, the likelihood of it being guessed or reused across different accounts is lesser. So I felt the need to explain that, because it doesn't look too good, I admit, but that's my reason, and I'm sticking with it. So there you go. You can check to see where you're signed in, and devices that remember your password. I don't like devices remember a password, so there aren't any. And then two-step verification. Let's have a look in here, see what the options are. So again, it goes into what it is and sort of and why it's there, and it's quite a good explanation of why it exists. If we click on turn on, you have two options: Authenticator app or phone number. You know, guess what? Authenticator app is my go-to, so that would be my choice. here we have, they use the Microsoft Authenticator, and you'll see that there's a QR code there. So that's the good thing about having the app on your phone, is you can then immediately open it up, scan the QR code, and go from there. Or you can use that secret key, which means, you know, copy and pasting that or typing it. Clearly the easier way of doing it is the Authenticator app. Once you put that into your Authenticator app, it'll give you then a 6-digit verification code, which you put in there, and the next screen will then basically authorize that and have turned on multi-factor authentication for LinkedIn. I don't want to do that at the minute because I'm using, obviously the app I'm using to show you the Authenticator is on an emulator, so I can't just easily do that. Or maybe I can. Let's have a look. Let's do the whole live demo thing and see if this works. So Microsoft Authenticator is this one here. Scan a QR code. No. See, there is no camera. Oh, capture a screen maybe. No. See, this is why. Oh, enter a code manually. I'm using this one. And if we put this down as LinkedIn, and then put that secret key in there, will it work? Oh, it might. Here you go. So 710185. Let's see if we can put that in. 710185, I think. Boom. 2-step verification turned on via the Authenticator app, and if you change your mind at some point and want to go to a different one, then there's how you do it. And recovery codes is the same as the other two, in that you download those offline and you store them, either print them out, keep them in an envelope somewhere, or put them onto your Dropbox or somewhere that you'll be able to access them, but somewhere that they're safe, because they are effectively a way of getting into your account. So you want to make sure that they are protected as well, to the same level as what you're trying to protect. But yeah, that's the LinkedIn one. Simple as that again, and that means that, you know, your account where your online presence for your professional needs is protected, and protected in a good way. Now we'll just quickly go on to, even though I've already showed you one of them there, we'll quickly go on to the two apps and just have a basic overview of those, and just how easy they are to get and download. Okay, Authenticator apps. Google Authenticator app, do a quick Google search. Guess what? It is on Google Play Store. It's also on the App Store for the Apple, if you're into that sort of thing. But if you click on the link, you know, you can do it by the web, but obviously it's going to be easier if you just go to the Play Store on your phone, put in Google Authenticator app, and you'll get a similar screen to this, which will allow you to download it. I already have it installed, is why that's showing that. Or Microsoft Authenticator, you can again Google Microsoft Authenticator, brings it to this page. Get it on Google Play, get it on the App Store, just go to it straight away on your phone and download it there. And the magic of emulators, we will show them here. It's quite similar to what we did on the last section, in that you can scan a QR code or you can enter a setup key. This is very simply, you know, how it works. You get the verification codes for all of your accounts using the 2-step verification. Simple setup using your camera, like I mentioned before. Just, you know, if it's on your phone, when you come to certain logins or creating a 2-factor, a lot of the time you will see that QR code, and it is as simple as what we did on the LinkedIn section. Is if you scan it, so instead of me putting in that long number, if you scan it, it'll just ask you for the account that you want to cover, so LinkedIn, Instagram, what have you. Scan that, and in the background the magic happens, and it communicates, and you know, sets up that. It's based on algorithms and really really difficult maths, and I have no clue about some of the maths and algorithm that go into it, but it's effectively time based, and that's why system clocks and stuff need to be up to date and proper, because if not, you'll not get the right code. I'm not even going to attempt to explain how it works. There's many smarter people than me in the world who deal with that sort of thing, and thankfully because of them we have things like this. But yeah, you'll get that unique code that you use on what you're trying to log into, and Microsoft Authenticator is just the same thing but under a different brand. Here we saw on the last one how I set that up, but it was as simple as choosing a different one. Camera doesn't work on this, but if it did, you would scan it, it would do the next step for you. But as we did on LinkedIn, you can enter secret key, which we received on the settings screen in LinkedIn, and give it account name, and again, as simple as that. So that is the Authenticator apps, and now we will go to conclusions. So thank you for putting up with my dulcet tones, but hopefully you will realize that setting up multi-factor authentication really isn't too difficult, but the benefits are definitely there for you, for your own accounts, online accounts, but also I obviously want to focus on the fact that this offers an added level of protection for your kids' accounts as well, and the reason that I wanted to get this subject sort of out of the way before we move on to each of the different social media platforms and how to lock those down and secure those internally with the settings. I think that you really need to understand the best protection for your login before we even get onto those. So once you've enabled this across your accounts, you really are giving yourself the best opportunity for securing them and enabling you to have a level of assurance that someone isn't in your accounts, in your kids' accounts, doing things that you have no idea about, and getting information on you that you don't want them to have, because as I've sort of touched on in other videos, that's when they can really start to mess with people's lives, and it can end badly. So we want to avoid that, and this is the first step towards that. So my main message is enable two-factor, enable multi-factor, whatever you want to call it, turn it on, because it's really simple. So any questions, comments, suggestions, if you want explanations on other platforms, because I realize there's lots of social media out there, Snapchat and TikTok and stuff, but I have certain opinions on kids being on those sort of platforms, but if you really do need it, then shout out to me. I'll happily put something together, but it's very similar to what you've just seen, so don't be afraid to give me a shout. My email is on the YouTube channel, or drop it in the comments. Please subscribe, please share. The more people that get to see this, then the farther and wider the message will go. Thanks very much for your time, and see you next time.